So let me ask you something. Do you know how to insta-kill this? Well, I hope so. Little old guy's got like 1 HP. So how about this guy, you know? Do a little bit of itty bitty, you know, like, how about her? Well, you know, we're getting a little more tricky. You know, how about this? Yeah, well, if you can technically kill this, then you can kill all these in one hit. And that's exactly what I'll be trying to teach you today. So here it is. A very quick guide to the wonderful world of zapping. Well, before we talk about how to zap, it's best we discuss how zapping works, and it all starts with the stage. I'm sure you've probably seen this message during your time in Cybergrind, especially on certain layouts such as pits. Well, zapped is basically when an enemy touches the kill zone in the stage, and each stage has one, and they can always be at varying heights because Cybergrind is fucky like that. They can be easily identified by their red outline. It's a lot more visible on some maps, but most of the time they're hitting the walls. Again, if an enemy touches it, they die. It doesn't matter if it's a Filth or a Minos Prime. If they touch it, they're gone, you know? They're obliterated. My guess is this probably exists so enemies can't get stuck in walls, but that's besides the point. You know, now the main point is going to be, how do you zap, right? That's the whole point of the thing. While you can zap every enemy, there is specifically one enemy that you can forcibly zap quite easily. It's everyone's favorite blue booby-having ball blast-ass Mindflayer. This is all possible due to how they teleport before each of their attacks. For those uninformed, the Mindflayer will teleport close to the player before doing their next attack, unless you're already close to them. So through this technique, you can kill the Mindflayer before they even shoot out their stupid balls. Anywho, here's how it goes. Firstly, identifying where the kill zones are. Next, you'll have to slide against the wall while having the kill zone right next to you. Right next to you. Then, the Mindflayer teleports to you, and hopefully, that's a big word, hopefully, the Mindflayer will teleport into the wall and touch the kill zone, causing them to die. Now, it's possible they won't die on the first attempt, as this technique is pretty dependent on where the Mindflayer feels like teleporting at times, so don't be afraid to use your wall jumps or dash to the wall to try to maintain your position. Everything is fine because you can always rocket ride to get back to the stage or reposition. And if you don't know how to rocket ride, hey, look, I made a whole video about the weapon that goes how to do. That's pretty much on how you zap Mindflayers. Now's the part where we talk about a bit more of some of the intricacies on this whole technique. So aside from the Mindflayer being uncooperative, there are things to take note of with this technique. If the Mindflayer doesn't immediately die, don't lose hope, as sometimes they move into the zone themselves. It doesn't appear that looking in a certain direction when sliding on a wall affects a teleport, you know, like RNG manipulate. It doesn't seem to be a thing, at least when testing. So if you have a direction that you like looking at, you know, I like looking left, I look like just look wherever you want. I don't think it fucking matters. Yes, this works on idled enemies if the intro didn't already give that away. So if you got an idle wave and you got mind flares, and you know, everyone loves idols, right? And when I see an idol, I want to rip my fucking eyeballs out. Don't be afraid to use this technique because it'll kill them. Also, don't forget the Mindflayer teleports before their attack, so if you want some extra time, you can always bait out the Mindflayer's guaranteed starting orb attack and use that time to get into position. Overall, I'd say this technique is quite lenient. Sometimes though, when you miss the kill zone, you miss it over and over again because it's the complete wrong area. Again, I don't think this technique is strict to the point where you need to know exactly where it is on every single stage and every single location, but you know, it's still nice to know, right? So whether you're curious or hate zapping on a certain stage because this kill zone's in a weird whack-ass spot, here's a quick visual guide to where all the zapping points are on each stage. Now, do I think this is a replacement for the more traditional orb insta-kill, or whatever it's called? I don't think it has a name, I think it's just orb insta-kill. No! I think learning the insta-kill is still a very worthwhile thing to learn. While zapping is, in my opinion, the go-to for like 90% of Cybergrind scenarios, there is that potential for that 10%. And aside from the Mindflayer's teleports being somewhat inconsistent, there are going to be situations where going for something like this is going to be very dangerous compared to the insta-kill. You know, for example, you got things like virtue waves, and believe me, the last thing you want to do during those waves is to be still in a single spot. That being said though, you know, once you virtue boost or whatever the virtues, then yeah, go for it, unless the Mindflayer is already dead. But again, I still think this is a very useful technique despite its flaws. It's great early game, since if a Mindflayer is taking up most of the credits and you aren't confident with the insta-kill, you could just zap them and deal with the rest of the random ass enemies. As for higher ways, sometimes there are too many Mindflayers to insta-kill, or the amount of enemies is overwhelming that you need to get rid of those Mindflayers to move around properly. Either way, I truly do think this is an option that should always be considered against Mindflayers. But again, you should probably still know the more traditional instant kill, also because it's sick as fuck to hit. So once again, quick summary. Slide against the kill zones. If it doesn't work, dash, wall jump, try again. You can always use your rocket ride to get back, even if it takes a million goddamn times, because the Mindflayer really hates your fucking guts. And understand when not to do this. Also understand how great of a stage Stairs is. Holy shit, what an amazing stage. You just like, you know? And that's the end of the video, so you can fucking leave.